used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now, today we will do something a little bit different. We're going to take a look at one part of a two-pack from McFarlane's DC Multiverse. This is going to be the Rookie Battlesuit and Mr. Bloom two-pack. But because we have officially started my favorite month of the year, going into October, really looking forward to having a lot of fun, some spooky stuff, some cool stuff. We will obviously continue to take a look at a lot of figures, but I just may throw in a little bit of Halloween themed videos, just especially for the season. So that is why I decided to only take a look at the Mr. Bloom figure from the two-pack. Now, this being because he does have a little bit of a creepy, spooky vibe going on. Now, to be honest, I never heard of him before, don't know much about him. A lot of what I do know, I've just recently found out by looking it up online. Very creepy imagery and even a little bit of bloodiness to go along with this character. So I'm not completely sure of everything, all the backstory and the lore. But seeing as how he has a little bit of a sinister vibe, he is definitely right up my alley. Now, he does look pretty insidious in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him now. Doesn't come with much. He does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. He also comes with his data file card. Right away, you're getting the weird vibes from this character. Not too sure of all his powers. I mean, you can tell he has sort of a botanic power set with all the flowers and the plant material. As I said, if you look this guy up, there's some pretty creepy images of him. I'm pretty sure he is a sick killer. Don't know how he came upon his powers, but be pretty interesting to find out that the imagery really goes along with this character. He has a little bit of a kind of Slender Man feel to him. When they show him in poses, a lot of times he has a kind of crooked or like angular stance, like his body is in weird positions. Another thing I did notice is he can change the shape of his body, extending his arms or legs, or even getting bulkier or thinner. And this might have to do with the way he controls vegetation, but at the same time, sort of infecting people with a lot of blossoms and and seeds and things like that. So pretty interesting, pretty intriguing character. Now, I didn't know really what to expect when I opened up the figure, but I was pleasantly surprised. I did want to do a couple of things that I just couldn't figure out how to do it. Maybe down the line we'll be able to do some custom work. I will talk about it once we get into taking a look at the figure. But I was surprisingly pleased by this one. On the back, you do have some information. Now we'll hold on to this. As I said, does not come with any accessories. The only other thing that comes in the package that, is for both characters is that cheap diorama piece. I think we've seen it before with another two-pack. He also comes with the carton, like a backdrop, but the artwork on that looks a little bit more animated. I would have really been excited if they would have added like a whole, flower field or something like that, which really would have went well with this one. I do foresee doing some awesome figure photography, as I just said, with some, flower backdrops and some lighting. I may do that later on in the future and maybe put them up on the ground. But other than that, let's dive right into them, take a closer look at them. Oh, really have to say I enjoy this guy a lot more than I thought I would, especially for the simplicity, very simplistic costume. There are some cool details and accents that I really enjoy. I'll point those out. But first impressions, at the same time, while looking dressed as a man, you can kind of tell he's not really a man. He's a creature, very unhuman, especially with the sculpture in the hands and the head sculpt. Now, there's a couple of things I did, little add ons that I'll show you guys that really helped in making this figure a lot more fun and adding to the posability, but we'll take a look at that. But for first impressions, very simple upper body. If you do look at the images in the comics, this pretty much represents what he looks like in the source material. There are little details that vary from artist to artist. I've seen some parts where you can see a lot of like fish netting, like around the neck and the arms, but they didn't add that onto this one. But I'm still pretty pleased with the way they made the character jump out of the pages comics. Let's take a look at that head sculpt. The simplicity and the way the bloom is attached to the head right away gives you a very dark and deranged feel. This is probably the best sculpt work on the whole figure is that flower that's placed right upon the face. Now, when you look up images in the comics, sometimes it's more kind of like printed on his face, but other times it is more of a fleshed out actual flower, which is what they went with here in the figure. But this is a really creepy looking head sculpt. Just the way it's like plain and at the same time has that added detail of the flower petals. And even the middle has very cool, unassuming detail and texture. Even the paint they use, you gotta look deep in there. You got purples and yellows and oranges. Really intricate for this head sculpt. Even gives off a little bit of like starro when the stars get on the face, and definitely gives you that hive mind feel. So I'm really happy with that. Now, the articulation is a little bit stiff, I noticed. Does look down slightly, looks up fairly enough. I mean, not too much, but you can get him to look up. You got right to left. And of course, you can tilt the head for some creep factor. Now, I will mod this later on, extend the peg, and show you how much more range it gives, and also adds to like that stretched out long look that he has. But even standard, that's fine. Going down, as I said, simple costume, really lean. I really wish that they would have used this body type for the Superboy. You can tell how tight the upper shirt is, and it gives you a more sleek and cleaner look. Even the upper jeans part is done far superior to the way they did the Superboy. Take a look at the waist articulation. Beautiful side to side movement. You got that full tilt whirl at the waist, lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel. You could twist them, get them in some horrific poses. Not too much crunch. It's slightly there, but not too much. You can mod these to get a little bit more. And of course, he could lean way back. Per usual with McFarlane figures. Let's take a look at the shoulders. You do have that socket and bushing shoulder joint with a lot of range and movement. You got some up and down, front to back, bicep swivel, true double jointed elbows. Look pretty clean. Straighten them back out. Now, although it is just a regular shirt, goes down into a cuff, I'm pretty sure this is original sculpt. We've never seen this body or this suit design before. Has a little bit of a cuff at the end of the wrist and going into those creepy long fingered hands. Now you do have the four ways of wrist articulation from McFarlane and those very long vampiric appendages. Now, surprisingly, on the other side, you do have an alternate hand. It's not the same hand as on the left side. The right side is definitely positioned in a different hand pose. Now, although I'm happy with these, I do kind of wish we could have had some alternate option of the hands or the arms. Now, that's one thing I really wanted to do, and that was sort of extend the arms and make them long and thin, like a lot of the artwork in the comics. But I just couldn't figure out how to do it. I even looked into maybe using the Plastic Man arms that are really long, and they do fit in the shoulder, but since the hands don't really have that gnarled fingers. It didn't really work well. I could see probably modding it and doing something in the future. I just couldn't figure out how to extend the arms and make them longer and thinner. And even some alternate hands would have been nice. Or maybe even seeing as how this figure is light on accessories, even a flower accessory would have been pretty cool just to use with figure photography. But of course, we got minimal, which is pretty much nada. Now you can get them in a T pose rather simply. Now this is one of the poses that he does a lot in the comics. Arms above the head, pretty smoothly. Go ahead and go down to the thighs. Now he does have pretty nice thigh swivel. That means you can move his boot from side to side without having a thigh cut. Kicks up really high, kicks back far as well. Now, don't be afraid, you get this range because the trunks are made of rubber, and when you put them back, they go back to their original shape. You can cock out the knee, and he does have that McFarlane hip swivel, double jointed knees, straighten them out, up and down at the boot. Now, it is restricted a little bit because of the way the boot and the calf are designed. So you do get minimal up and down, but you got right to left, rocker, and of course, toe articulation. Now, before we go, let's take a complete look at the lower body. These legs are so plain, they can even go for flesh, for flesh legs if you wanted to. They almost have no detail, no stitching, or texture or design. So they are very plain. But something I really love about this lower body is those boots. Now, these boots are accurate to what you see in the comics. He wears like some kind of Uggs looking boots. They have some cool tread on them and thickness to them. Really, really enjoying these boots. Take a look at them from the bottom. You can see that awesome tread. If you look at them kind of at the side, you could really see how these boots are sculpted and fleshed out. Moving up the back, pretty plain. They did the back of the jeans really well with this one. This is awesome. Love the fit, the way it looks. Really wish Superboy was done a little bit more with this style of lower body. So get to the back, not much to speak of. It's just a plain body, but it works well with this character. So basically, that's it for him. Didn't really have, not really a lot of show or pizzazz, but he's great for what he's meant to be, which is a dark, sinister figure. Really enjoying him more than I thought I would. Now, as far as any add ons that I did extend the peg. Got tired of looking for longer pegs. Basically, a lot of the extra pegs I have, the fodder, they're all the same length. So I did have to go ahead and just drill in and extend this one. But something it does do is really add a length, like to the neck. It makes the neck look a lot longer and it gives you some great range looking up and looking down as well. And really smooth movement. And the way the neck is painted and the head sits on there, it doesn't mess up any of the design or the flow. It even helps a lot more because he looks way up than before. So that added little articulation really gives you a lot more when you want to do figure photography or the way you display him, which is awesome. So that is one tip I will recommend, and that is to either find a longer peg or extend the peg, and that head sits perfectly on that body. Looks great. Now the only other thing I did is I did want to make some kind of alternate hand. Now, this is from Animal Man. I did end up buying like 3 or 4 Animal Man. So I had an extra one of these kind of clawed animalistic hands, but it does surprisingly work well with this figure. Now, I did repaint it to match the kind of brownish bark color that this guy's skin tone is. And once I match that color, it fits really well on this guy. You do have to mod it a little bit to fit on the peg, but it does fit on there. And it really works because you can take this as he does modify his body or like control the shape of his body, and he could be different sizes, different lengths, and for sure he can make claws out of his hands. So I just thought this worked really well with this figure. Definitely adding something when you want to do figure photography and stuff like that. So really happy with this guy. Kind of becoming one of my favorite figures, especially with the creepiness and the darkness that he represents. So a lot more fun than I thought he was going to be. And I'm really happy to add him to the collection. Now, there's no Mr. Bloom's figures that have ever been made before. So this is once again McFarlane doing a first ever in plastic form, which is awesome. Now, really excited to get into this month. I got a lot of stuff set up. I have figures that I've been sitting on for weeks, and I just haven't gotten around to opening them up, but I will try and get a lot of bids here up pretty much in succession. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.